Perfect time. So now, those hard caps, they have an adjustable crank or an adjustable strap, but if you need any help, let me know. To take a full shot, if you can get it there, is down in. Stand out of the way. So, my name is Carla. Feel free at any time if you have a question about what I'm talking about to ask, because I will. Of an hour climbing down in, and they were not getting paid for that time. And then they were 10 hours below and they were climb off out of the line. So 1866 rolls around and Quincy decides to put in a man engine shaft. They were the third mine on the island here to put one in. But a lot of Cornish miners come over here to bring technology to us. And the wonderful capacity. You haven't tried a capacity. Just tell me whatever you want me to do. Not fast at all. So right on top of that platform, so he's got a wooden chair and 3 levers in front of him. Forward, reverse, throttle, and brake. This right here.
Okay, we'll give you a little introduction to the mine. What we got.
I like it.
Piece weighs 832 pounds and it is 99.9% pure. The only impurity in there is silver. Now this is small compared to some of the pieces they found in the mine. Largest one they removed on record was at 300 ton. But in the early days, mining company was not thrilled to find these large pieces of mass, even though they were so pure. Because before they had power tools, the only way they could get this down apart, not the mine, hand drills, sledgehammers, and chisels. We understood that large piece took the company just about a year to get it all disassembled and out of the mine. So in the early days, the majority of money that the company made came from what they call the migaloid rock, which was rock with copper deposits within it, even though it only ran 2 to 4% copper. It was the ease of mining the rock. They got it to the surface where they could crush it, remove the copper, that did make it profitable. Now we've got a piece of migaloid that's been cut here, and on the cut face you can see the copper flecks in there. I'll pass this out, you can take a look and pass it around. Now what we have on the wall here is a graph of the underground of Quincy. Right now we are standing right here. We're near the number 5 shaft. We're 365 feet below the surface. Number 5 shaft was a shallow mine, only went down a total of 12 levels, so there are 5 more below us. The deepest shaft here at Quincy is the number 2 shaft, which is a tall building by the gift house. The number 2 shaft ran down to the 92nd level, which is 9,260 feet deep on that 54-degree incline. Vertically, it's 6,225 feet straight down. So when these guys were in here working, they were well over a mile into the earth. Now we're standing here, and it's roughly 43 degrees, stays the same. Temperature doesn't vary much at this level. Miners at the lower end of the mine, they had a different situation. They got down deep here at Quincy, temperatures in the slopes and drifts were in the 90s, and humidity, the same thing. It was very hot and humid when they were in here working. Now, in 1945, when Quincy ceased the underground operation, they shut the water pumps off, and gradually these areas started to fill with water. It took 55 years for this whole underground to fill up. Spring of 2000, water reached the level we're standing at, and it started doing its job again and is draining it out. So as long as we never block this opening up, water will never increase from where it is right now. If you notice, as we're coming in all along the right-hand side, there is that ditch. That's all part of the original drainage system, and the water is constantly flowing out the mine here. Now, of course, the only thing that did for us is where we are standing here. Anything below us right now is totally submerged. And this is as far as we can go down. All right, we're going to take a little walk around the corner to the drill section. Yes.
How did the copper mining and the coal mining in northeastern area of the U.S., you know, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, how did it differ?
How they mined it?
Yes, I mean, did they go down in shafts like this?
Most of the coal mines go in the same way. All the mining is done basically the same way with the same type of equipment. Just the only thing, they got a few more problems that these type of mines don't have.
Yeah, the dust.
Yeah, coal dust, also gases, methane gas and stuff like that. You don't have to worry about these in hard rock like this.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Holding that against the rock, 1 or 2 men with sledgehammers hitting it. Every time they hit it, he would pull and rotate the drill, keep the hole rounded out, keep the drill from jamming. Now 3 miners working a 10-hour shift could drill 3 of these holes 3 feet deep in a workday. Now, their normal blast patterns were anywhere from 12, 16, 18 holes. So if that team was working this wall by themselves, it would take them better part of the week before they got enough holes punched in there to set the charge off. Now, as we stand here in this light, it doesn't look too bad. We gotta remember when they were doing it, they're doing it this type of light. Now, in the early days, the miners were under a contract with the company, got paid by the amount of rock they brought down, not by the time they were here. And they're responsible for all their tools and supplies, even the candles they burn. So if you had a 3-man team, of course there'd be 3 candles here, which would give you quite a bit more light than this one little one does here. Now, the trouble with candles underground, wet and damp like it is, all it takes is a drop of water to put that candle out. If you had a cave in another part of the mine, what they call an air blast, the displaced air running through these drifts, high rate of speed would definitely blow that candle out. Now, just before I put my lights back on and blow the candle out, you'll get a chance to witness what the darkness is like here underground. As you see, your eyes could never adjust to it because there is no light at all. Now, where the heck the switch go? Now, once the miner had all his holes drilled in the rock, originally they used black powder for an explosive. You charge the hole, set the charge off. Once that rock is down, the miner's done with his part of the job. It was only the drill and the blast. The next man that came along and handled the rock was called a trammer. In the early days of the mine, he got the nickname Wheeler because he used to push a wheelbarrow with the rock in there back to the shaft area to be hauled up to the surface. In 1860, they start laying those narrow gauge rail system. They built that red car there, which is called a tram car. Now the trammer would push that to the blast site. Car weighs 500 pounds. He handloads a ton of rock on there. Then he would get on this end and he would push it back to the shaft area. That top is counterbalanced on there, so if he grabs the handle on this end, he could actually dump it into a waiting skip to be hauled up to the surface. Then he would push it back to the blast site. He did this for his 10-hour shift. Now this is a one-man car, so that trammer operated all by himself. In 1901, the company did run electricity underground. They never did light the area where the men were working. Only place that electric lights was in the shaft area where they were loading skips or where the company had equipment located. Miners still depended upon candles. It was about 1896 when they got what they call a sunshine lamp, burned their paraffin fuel. Early 1900s, they did get carbide lamps. Some of the mines did switch over in later years to battery packs. Quincy never did. They stayed with the carbide lamps right up until the time they closed in 45. However, once the company had electricity underground, they took the AC they got from the power company, converted over to DC, and they set up a trolley system. They had a bare wire down the middle of the overhead, and they started pulling these tram cars with little electric locomotives, or what the company called mules. Once they had the electric mule, they now could pull anywhere from 1 to 6 of those cars behind them, which did speed up production as they were getting further and further from the shaft area. Now a trip to the shaft area could bring them 6 tons of rock to go up to the surface. And it was in 1880, Quincy got his first power drill underground, which was the first drill we got mounted back here. That drill, clamp, and stand does weigh 602 pounds. It is considered a 2-man drill. It would definitely take 2 men to move it around, set it up, even take it all apart. But when it was operating, you had 2 men on the drill. One guy's turning his crank at the end of the drill body to advance the steel into the rock. The second man had a water hose, and he was spraying that drill hole, trying to keep the dust down and trying to keep this drill cool. Now, these drills were used from the 1880s up until 1913, when the company started to introduce the one-man drill mounted next to it. Now, that drill is a lot lighter, weighs right around 200 pounds, but it also had its own water tank, which was pressurized with air. Air forced the water through that drill body, out through the drill steel, which was hollow, and it was much more efficient controlling dust, keeping that drill cool. Now, as much as the company wanted these drills, the miners wanted no part of them. First of all, they didn't like the idea of losing a partner. And the second thing is they didn't want to be left down here by themselves. They figured if anything happened during the day, could be quite a while before somebody might come around. So in 1913, the miners and trimers did go out on strike. They did shut down all the copper mines in the copper country. Now, at that time, it did put approximately 10,000 men out of work. Now, the strike actually lasted for 9 months, but somewhere in between that time, some of the mines decided they wanted to try and reopen. They did have men crossing picket lines. The company was also importing men to take the place of the strikers, even though they did get back to work. They didn't get any kind of production that they had before the strike started. And it was in May 1914 when the men settled with the company and came back to work. Even though they ended up having to accept the one-man drill, they did get some concessions from the company. The largest one was their 10-hour day, now became a regular 8-hour workday, which in the long run also helped the company out, because before they were working 2 10-hour shifts. Then they had to shut down for 4 hours. Now with 8-hour shifts, they could go around the clock 6 days a week. Now, these 2 drills here were the only ones Quincy used underground, as the next model that came out didn't come out till quite a while after Quincy had closed. Both of these operated on compressed air. The company had large air compressors on the surface, and they ran heavy steel pipes down the mine shaft and all levels of the mine, so men did have air to work with. Probably the one big advantage they had once they went to the power drills is they're now capable of drilling that blast pattern in a rock wall in 1 8-hour shift. So now the charge can be set off at the end of each shift or 3 times a day. Plus, when they were doing it with hand drills, they're only going 3 feet deep. With the power drills, they're going 6 feet deep. So now each time they did set it off, they're getting twice as much rock down as when they were doing it by hand.